my primary question for you is the left side of the line, the Skoronski, JC Latham, Lloyd Cushenberry trio. Those are the three I think everybody was focusing the most on over there. What did they look like before we get to some videos from them and on them?
The biggest word I can say is powerful. I mean, we were the parts that we were allowed to kind of record and whatnot were a lot different from individual drills. It was more of Bill Callahan having them, work in tandem, setting either setting an edge, shifting to another position to pick up a different blocker, or in the case of a lot of the videos we're going to show today, hitting the initial block and then moving to the next level to kind of pick up that what would be on a real field like a linebacker, or moving to the next level to help with run blocking in that sense. And all I could really say is for Peter Skoronski, Lloyd Cushenberry, and especially JC Latham, was the power that I saw in them, as well as the kind of, I know you took some videos of JC on Callahan's, his greatest invention, Bertha and Olga, those guys, but also Peter Skoronski looked really, really good using those sleds yesterday as well. But man, on some of the bigger sleds, JC Latham it's so easy for him, man. And you can tell that power just comes naturally for him.
Are you talking about the long one where it's the bar and they double it? I
Mm-hmm.
think it's called a shiver sled. I think I saw on the side of there. I don't know why.
Interesting. Either way, I'll have to pay attention to that next time, to find out exactly what it's called. But if it is called the shiver sled, he was moving that with ease, and you could tell that with, sometimes he would be paired up either with Lloyd or a different lineman yesterday in those practices. And when they make that initial contact to hit the sled, JC hits it so easy that he has some space already in it. And you can see the other guy also trying to put as much as he can into it to get to the same level. But JC is still able to beat him on that. Just really go to show man, this guy, it comes naturally to him. And it makes me super excited to see him once we get the pads on.
Yeah, it's called a shiver sled. I don't know why. We'll have to ask why it's called that, but that is what it is. And you're right that I noticed, not in real time, but going back watching some of the footage you took, the way that JC would knock it so far, they'd have to readjust it before the next guys could go because of the indifference between how hard JC hit it and the next guy hit it. We're going to show some of JC going up against the what's the name of the other sled? Now I'm blanking on sled names. Bertha and Olga. Yes. There's a name for it, but I forget what it's called. You guys know what we're talking about. The video of him doing that on May 10th at rookie mini camp that I took, and then a video from yesterday, May 29th, less than 20 days later, kind of demonstrating how he's been coached up and the work ethic that he's been demonstrating with the Titans so far. But first, a video from Brian Callahan, his head coach. We asked him about what he has seen from JC Latham, both as a performer and as a player in the locker room and as a teammate and a leader. And here's what he had to say.
He doesn't carry himself like a rookie, which is always a good thing. He's very intentional about his work. He works really hard. He spends a lot of time on this. I think he understands, which not all rookies understand, that it is a job. And there's an expectation, especially when you're drafted where he was drafted, that you got to come perform. And I think that he's aware of that. Not everybody always is. And he's got some maturity to him, but he's also has a youthful wonder that's kind of fun to be around. Everything's new to him. There's just a lot, and he just loves playing football. And so there's this kind of enthusiasm that he carries with him around the field that I think is fantastic. And he's getting better with the techniques. I think it's going to be really fun to see where he ends up between now and the next couple of weeks. And then when training camp starts, when the pads come on, that's we're going to find out a whole lot about a lot of people when training camp starts. So I think he's making the right progress, but I think as you guys talk to him too, you enjoy his personality.
And then we asked his teammate Lloyd Cushenberry, the Titans' new center, about what he has seen in the rookie so far. Here's what Lloyd had to say.
Intelligent. He's picking up just like everybody else, and he's picking up smart. He has total control of the offense in and out of the huddle. And, I can see the improvement just from my short time being here. He's taking steps and becoming the guy.
Now, we've got video here of the sled performance from JC. And before we show those, I know you've listened to both of the Bussin' with the Boys podcasts so far with Ran and with Brian. JT, it has struck me, and as I think it would anybody else, them constantly talking about these stories of, we've had coaches get frustrated with Jason, like not frustrated, but like exasperated trying to get him off the practice field because he's doing so much side solo work, constantly out there in the afternoons after practice, working on trying to master this sled or that sled or this technique. He clearly has taken it upon himself. And it's funny, the level of frustration we felt from him on May 10th during rookie minicamp. This sled that is difficult and demands perfect form. It's not about brute strength. It's not about your force and your size. It's about the perfect technique. He has made it his journey, his goal in life to find the perfect way to attack the sled and perfect his form in the process. And so let's play the video from May 10th. Here was him on the second day, I think, of minicamp when media was allowed to come. Here's how he performed against Bertha. And do we have that clip, JT?
Yes.
Okay, so here it is. And he was struggling against it. He told us that day that he was, and we showed this on the show back then. You can see him struggle with this first rep, loses control. Those springs, both up and down and left to right, easy to lose control of it. Forks get stuck in the grass here. He gets another bite, as head coach or big coach Bill Callahan says, and then he gets it moving. This was yesterday. Look at this guy take off with the sled and then slam it to the ground at the end. Let's show that again if we can, JT. He has made this thing his child, his son. This has been his goal in life, clearly, to perfect this sled, and the dividends are showing. It's crazy how much better he is at it now.
Yeah, it was remarkable to watch for sure. Just also you could look just like in the footwork as well. You see the struggle, and then he gets it going. The footwork is more refined. It's more closer to the body. Right? Control is the big thing, I think, right there. Just the power is coming from down there, and he's finally learning how to use that more than the arm strength. He's using where the power naturally comes from.
It's about your base. Yeah, it's about setting a base.
It's about
using your hips
about
properly.
The base. And JC, you see how much he has come from, like 2-3 weeks from now, or 2 or 3 weeks ago, rather. And as Callahan said, he's excited to see where he can be in another 2 to 3 weeks, and so on and so forth. So I think that's something that makes me really excited about him and makes me just fall in love more and more with him as a prospect post the draft here, because
confirmation bias, baby. We love it. We love it.
The infectious personality was something that, on the practice field or in the interview rooms, which was something that we weren't privy to. And now we get to see that, and that whole different side of JC that we couldn't really evaluate come combine or on tape. And I think that's something that's really starting to show, and why he was their guy there at 7.
Bottom line, he is not a Boy Scout rookie. He's an Eagle Scout rookie. And that's it's a dream for a front office, for a coaching staff, in your first round pick in particular, when you have a guy come in and have that Eagle Scout mentality of, I'm not only going to follow all the rules, I'm going to go above and beyond to try to earn every badge, man. I'm going to try to speed run it and master it all first and better than everybody else in the team, everybody else in the league. That's the mentality you want. And it couldn't be any more different from some Titans experiments at tackle positions in the past, who will go unnamed. This guy has that, again, as we said with Levis, and like the quarterback aura, the want to, the drive, the determination to be the best. I see a lot of that same thing in JC. Whether or not he ends up being a good player, it's not going to be for lack of trying. It's not going to be for lack of effort. It's not going to be for lack of taking the coaching to heart. This guy's doing everything you could possibly ask of him so far. And I think his coaches are stoked by that, to the point of wanting to talk about it, brag on him, as opposed to keep him humble early on. He is earning his stripes, and that's a very big deal. Michael in the comments asking, I know JC's potential is exciting, and center isn't always the most sexy position, but what about Lloyd Cushenberry? They paid a lot for him. Does he look like he was worth the investment? JT, what do you think?
I mean, talking to him, I think it's exactly what they needed at the center position. The last time they had that hole last year in the absence of Ben Jones, and I think that they've once again found that kind of center commander of the offensive line. I actually got to ask Lloyd Cushenberry about how they are establishing that connection, because we've talked about in the past, knowing your guys around you is half the battle. Technique can take you so far, but if you're not on the same page, kind of like a quarterback to wide receiver connection, if you're not on the same page with the guys next to you, you're going to get your quarterback in trouble. And so I asked him about that and how that's going. First year for him, first year for JC, Peter Skoronski, second year. How are the guys meshing so far? And he said that it's going pretty well for them right now. The most important thing he said was that they spend a lot of time off the practice field as well together, just doing things that aren't football, getting to know each other, getting to kind of build that community with each other. I think was one of the things that he said. And he also just kind of agreed with me and called getting to know each other and getting that connection one of the most underrated parts of a successful offensive line. And so that, for me, to answer Michael's question, it makes me think that he's worth the investment, because he can be that guy who understands the job and how important it is to be connected as an offensive line, as well as, just the stark difference from an Aaron Brewer from a year ago.
And as Glory Day Sports says here in the comments, it cannot be overlooked what Cushenberry how Cushenberry, I'd imagine, can help Will Levis make pre-snap blocking adjustments. Yeah, you mentioned the connection between a center and the rest, or just anybody on the line, them playing as one, 100% a big deal. Also a very big deal, the connection that a quarterback and a center have. And Ryan Tannehill and Ben Jones, a big part of their success when that offensive line and offense in general were really humming, was that those two were fantastic commanders, not just during the play, but more importantly, the pre-snap adjustments, setting the team up for success before the ball is even in motion. That's going to be a very big deal. And to have two guys in Will Levis and Lloyd Cushenberry, who both seem to be certainly intelligent enough and driven enough to go above and beyond in preparation, be out preparing their opponents. That's a very big deal. One last clip here from Lloyd Cushenberry. We asked him about Bill Callahan and what he, we heard from Bill a couple of weeks ago, who kind of unprompted was gushing about Lloyd Cushenberry. So we returned the favor and said, was that a big part of why you came here? What are your thoughts on the offensive lineman guru as your new head coach? And here's what Lloyd had to say.
A genius. You can tell why his resume speaks, for itself. We're grinding. As you guys probably saw, we out there 20 minutes before, 20 minutes after. So he's always a constant question and to improve. And he's very detailed. Like every single play, it's every single blocking assignment. Everything is just, from the smallest details, he's harping on it.
All right. Any other thoughts on linemen, or do we want to move on to a little Traylon Burks hype train? Is it a time to all aboard?
We did kind of talk about it or gloss over it at the beginning there, talking about Dylan Radins. I mean, okay. You talked about how he looked different. I mean, he looks like he added, I want to say, 15 pounds. This is
of muscle.
Of muscle,
I mean,
correct.
It's a lean. He's leaner than he used to look, but he's stronger than he used to look to me.
Oh, he looks 10 times stronger than he used to look. And looking there were, I was watching Lloyd, I was watching Peter, I was watching Dylan, and watching JC as well. But I was going to say the fourth guy that really caught my eye yesterday was Dylan Radins. I mean, he was out of those three guys were very powerful, but the next most powerful guy out there who was killing all the drills was Dylan Radins. So something to look out for, I guess, as we continue to go through OTAs and mini camps and whatnot. And Dylan Radins, I think, could be shaping into form where we could see him on the field more often than not come September.
It is May 30th, and not only am I liable to change my opinion on this, I am going to change my opinion on this. But as of right now, if I had to guess the leaders in the clubhouse for the starting five, left to right, it is J.C. Latham, Peter Skoronski, Lloyd Cushenberry, Dylan Radins, Nicholas Petit-Frere. I think those are the guys who don't necessarily, not all of them have that job locked down, but it is theirs to lose as of this moment. Now, the wild cards for me are the guys that have been brought in this offseason that we like Leroy Watson. I don't know how much they love him as a tackle option. Obviously, Bill Callahan has a connection with him, has an understanding of what he thinks he can do. That it was enough for them to go and grab him. And trade for him, right? Send one of those 7th round, or did they trade for
correct.
him? They traded for him. So I don't know with those guys, but if I had to guess, that's kind of where I'm leaning. And I find that obviously good enough to be successful, but especially on that right side, a couple of interesting guys that we've been talking about for a couple of years now. Man, the potential is there, but they just can't put it together. They can't stay on the field. They can't, whatever it is. If there was ever a time for a coach to get the most out of them, it would be with Bill Callahan. And he has a long track record of getting the most out of guys that previously had been underwhelming or mediocre. If he could turn them into even average players, then you've got yourselves a really interesting group to play offensive line. And with some pretty strong draft pedigree, that would be from left to right. Where was Lloyd Cushenberry drafted? If he was a top 3 pick, then all 5 of them would be third rounds or better picks. And so highly drafted guys, you're getting the most out of them. In hindsight, that certainly makes some sense. As you're looking that up, I'm going to transition us here.
He was drafted in the 3rd round.
Okay, so there we go.
By the Denver Broncos then.
Hey, you made it to the end of the video. Thanks for that.
Want more of the latest from the Hot Read podcast? Subscribe to the channel right below.
And follow us on Twitter, TikTok, and Instagram @HotReadPod for even more segments, clips, and announcements.